We've all been there. The bright fluorescent lights, the aisles that seem to go on forever, the promise of low prices. But sometimes, hidden in plain sight, something way darker is lurking. Today, we're going to get into 3 true stories that take one of the most familiar places on Earth and turn it into a scene of absolute horror. I mean, seriously think about that for a second. You pop in to grab some milk and eggs, and you end up in a fight for your actual life. That's the terrifying reality we're about to explore. And look, these aren't just some campfire stories or urban legends. These are real accounts from real people who found themselves in situations that would change them forever, right in a place they thought they knew. All right, let's get into it. So our first story is about a 20-year-old employee named Samantha. She was about to find out that the quietest hours of her overnight shift were also the most dangerous. Okay, so try to picture this. It's super late. Samantha is pretty much alone in this massive, cavernous store, just trying to get through her stocking duties. The emptiness of a 24-hour Walmart in rural Alabama after midnight, that's an eerie vibe on its own. And, as it turns out, it's the perfect place for a predator to hunt. And this is what's so creepy about it, how slowly the dread starts to build. It begins with just, weird, awkward eye contact. No big deal, right? But then 2 hours later, she realizes he's still there, and he's watching her. This isn't a customer anymore. The tension just keeps cranking up and up, all leading to this insane confrontation in the dairy cooler. Can you even imagine that? You're hiding, thinking you're safe behind a box of eggs with the loud hum of the refrigerators all around you. You finally get the courage to look up, and there he is. The person you've been dreading is standing right over you, just smiling. That is a moment of pure, unfiltered terror. So after she screams and shoves him away, he tries to play it all cool with this really flimsy story. He tells her and another coworker, Bob, that his name is Tom from corporate, and he's just doing a surprise inspection. And what's unbelievable is that Bob kinda seems to buy it, which leaves Samantha feeling even more terrified and completely alone. Well, it turns out her instincts were 100% right. The next day, she calls her manager, who confirms the whole story was a total lie. And here's the really horrifying part. The security footage proved that this guy had been systematically stalking her aisle by aisle for hours. A police report was filed, and you can bet Samantha never worked another night shift again. Okay, our second story, this one takes a totally different but just as familiar scenario, the absolute chaos of a Black Friday sale, and shows you how fast things can spin out of control. For this shopper, the fight for a deal literally followed him all the way home. So it starts off as a pretty simple conflict, right? Our narrator grabs the last big-ticket laptop on sale. Another guy comes up and confronts him, getting really angry, making a whole scene. The narrator just wants to get out of there, so he walks away, pays for it, and leaves, thinking that this weird, uncomfortable moment is over. Well, it wasn't. Look how fast this escalates. It starts as an argument over a product inside a crowded store, and it follows him to the one place he should feel safe, his own home. He notices a weird car outside, then he sees the same man on his porch, and then he hears that unmistakable, terrifying sound of a window shattering downstairs. The absolute panic in this moment, you can just feel it. The narrator's mother peeks through the peephole, and her reaction says everything. The monster from the electronics aisle is now literally on their doorstep, trying to force his way in while the family scrambles to call 911. Thankfully, the police got there incredibly fast. And they found him, the same man from the store, hiding inside their house. He was arrested, screaming threats the whole time, a completely terrifying end to a day that just started with trying to get a good deal on a laptop. All right, our final story is, well, it might be the most unsettling of all, because it's so hard to explain. This happened to a night stalker working his shift in a Walmart after the doors had been locked for the night. Okay, get this. The store is closed. It's locked up tight. There are only 3 employees inside this entire massive building. Suddenly, our narrator just glimpses someone in all black who definitely shouldn't be there. Then a bicycle just crashes to the floor out of nowhere, and then he hears it. This strange, disembodied laugh echoing from the next aisle. So eventually, the narrator has to use the employee bathroom in the back of the store. The second he sits down in the stall, the main bathroom door opens and closes. He calls out, hello, but gets nothing back. And then he hears that same horrific laugh. But this time, it's right outside his stall. He slowly looks towards that tiny little crack in the stall door, and staring right back at him is an eye. The intruder is standing just inches away from him, on the other side of this thin piece of metal, just watching him. And if being watched wasn't terrifying enough, the person on the other side starts to whisper. He can't make out the words. It's just this unsettling stream of whispers echoing in the tiled bathroom, just amplifying the fear and the feeling of being trapped. In a moment of just pure desperation and quick thinking, the narrator whips out his phone and loudly calls his coworker Alvin, yelling for him to come to the bathroom right now. He watches through the crack as the intruder finally backs away and runs out of the bathroom. But this is the unexplainable part. The next day, the manager pulls the security footage to try and find this trespasser. And what does he find? 100% of the footage from that entire night was gone. It was just static. No sign of a break-in, no proof of the man in black, absolutely nothing. So after hearing all that, what do these three completely different, completely terrifying stories really have in common? Well, they all happened in the exact same place most of us buy our groceries. What really connects all these stories is how the Walmart environment itself almost becomes a character. For Samantha, the store's late-night emptiness made her a perfect, isolated target. For the guy who just wanted a laptop, the crowded chaos of Black Friday was the spark that lit the fuse. And for the Night Stalker, it was the isolation of that locked-up store that made the intruder so unbelievably terrifying. And that right there is the heart of what makes these stories so deeply scary. You know, we're all taught to be careful in certain places, at certain times of night. But true horror, it doesn't play by those rules. It can find you right under the bright fluorescent lights of a superstore, in a place that's supposed to be boring and safe and totally normal. It's a pretty sobering thought, isn't it? The strangers you walk past every single day, you never really know who they are or what they're truly capable of. So the next time you're out shopping, just remember these stories. And maybe, just maybe, keep an eye on who's in the aisle with you.